Hey everyone, welcome back. So in today's video, I'm going to show you possibly the simplest method to add a pagination to the Power Apps Gallery control. So let's take a look. I have this app that's showing me the travel request, and I have around 1000 requests right now in my SharePoint list. So currently, to see all the records, what I need to do, I need to keep scrolling. So when I'm scrolling, the Power App's gonna make call to my backend SharePoint list to get the next result. So it's like 100 at a time. Now there's no way I can directly go to the last page or I can see a particular record. There's no way I can do it. So that's why the pagination is helpful, because then you have pagination, you can go to a particular page that you want to see. So what we're going to do today, we're going to learn how we can convert this app to something like this. So now you can see at the bottom I have a good looking pagination. I can see the total record is 1001. I can click next, first page to the second page. But not only that, now I have this entire page that I can actually click on any number and the app is going to take me directly to that page. So I don't need to scroll, and currently I have defined the 10 records in one page. Good. So we're going to learn. Stay tuned, you don't want to miss it. Welcome back. So as I said, we are going to add a pagination to an existing app. You can always start with the new app, but I'm going to show you how you can add this to an existing app that you are already using. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to edit this app that I already have. Okay, so this is my app, very simple app. I have this gallery control that is connected to travel request, and this is my backend list. Okay, nothing much. I have applied some styling to it, but more or less this app is very simple, showing me the data from my backend SharePoint list. Okay, so the first thing that we need to make our pagination work, if I go to the data, currently as you can see, this is directly connected to my SharePoint list. But to pagination to work perfectly fine, what we need to do, instead of directly connecting to the SharePoint list, we are going to use the Power Automate flow to get the data. Okay, so what you need to do, first thing, go to this Power Automate icon and we're going to create a new flow. Okay, I'm going to create an empty flow, so create flow. Okay, give it a name, always a good practice. Then you are going to get this Power Apps v2. We're going to add two input that we will require when we're going to call this Power Automate flow. The first one is page size. Okay, and what this page size is going to be, it's going to define how many items you want to see in one page. Okay, the second one is start item ID. This will help me to know the starting ID or starting row or starting item for a given page. So when we're going to first time call it, this will be 0, that means start from the first item, and then let's say if I have 10 or 20 as a page size, that's going to start plus 20 or plus 10. Okay, so we need these two input parameters for our flow to work. The next step is very simple. We're going to query the SharePoint list and get the data according to our page size. Okay, so I'm going to go to SharePoint. Okay, and then get items. This is the action that allow me to query the list item. Provide the site address. Okay, list name. So my list name is travel request. Okay, now click on the show advanced option. This is where we're going to pass a filter query that will allow us to get these data or these items from the SharePoint list as per our page size. Okay, the first one that we're going to pass a filter query, and what we're going to say ID, that's the ID column in our SharePoint list, greater than the start item ID. Okay, and then the top count. So if after filtering the query, how many item you want, and this is where we're going to use our page size. Okay, once you click on the top count, you may not see anything here. Okay, don't worry. What you can do, click on the filter query, or let's say order by, select the page size, copy it and paste it here. Okay, simple approach, just a quick tricks. If you don't see it, you can do this, but this is nothing but, if you look at the expression, it's saying trigger body and text. Text is nothing but this name of this internal column. Okay, so these are the two things that you need to do. That's it. This will do the magic. Now next step is we're going to send this response back to the Power App. Okay, and then we're going to search respond, and here Power Apps, respond to Power Apps or flow. What we are sending back, response, that's the variable name that we're going to use. Okay, and what we are responding back, we are responding back entire result that we are getting from get item. So go to the expression. Okay, we're going to say body, and here saying action name. Our action name is get underscore items. Okay, click OK. That's it. We're going to save it. Okay, so our flow is connected here. Now whenever we're going to call this flow, it's going to give us the results. The next step, what we're going to do, we're going to go to the apps on start, because what we are trying to do, when the app is going to first time load, we need to query the first set of result. Okay, so we're going to write some logic here. The first thing that we need is to set a variable that's going to define the number of items that we want in each page. Okay, so set. Okay, so what I'm saying here, we are defining one variable called where get page size, and we are saying 10. That means in each page we need a 10 record. Semicolon. The next thing that we need to call our flow that we just created. Okay, I'm going to define a variable called obj response. This is our variable that's going to store the result. We are going to use action called parse JSON. This is again available in Power App. What it does, it's going to take a response from the flow and parse it to the JSON so that our gallery can understand the results. Okay, then after this we're going to type the name of the flow. So the name of the flow, if you start typing get items, this was the flow name, right? So get splist item -2 dot run. And as you can see here, as soon as you reach here, it's asking for two information, text and text1. And if I show you the flow that we have just created, right? So we have two input. First one is the page size, second one is the starting ID. So the first one is page size. Here we're going to pass our variable, right? That's the size, that's the number of item on each page. And the second one is starting item. Because we are starting this on app start, that means we want to start from the first item. So we're going to pass 0. Close this and then dot, and you will see our response already here. Close this bracket, another one, semicolon. Okay, so what this is going to do, this is going to call the flow, right? Depending on the page size and static item, is going to respond us with the entire result from this get items. And after we get this response, the last thing that we need to do, we need to collect all of this response to a collection. So clear collect obj gallery data, that's the name of my collection. We're going to say table obj response dot. Okay, so we are saying clear collect this information into this gallery data, obj response dot value. Now why I'm doing like this, once you're going to get this response from the Power Automate, the actual data that we are getting is going to be under value, and I'll show you in a while once we run it. So you need to do object response dot value and then table. Now let me show you this running. So how you can run this without running the app, I'm going to go to the app and say run on start. Okay, this going to call this flow. As you can see here, right, it's just run 5 seconds ago. We will go and we will see how the response and everything is working. So we passed the page size at 10, starting item ID is 0, so that was perfect, right? Then we make the call, ID is greater than 0 and top 10. We got the response, and you can see the response over here, right? So this is the response we got. Don't worry too much about it. Just make sure that you understand this one, as I said, the value, because we are passing this entire thing back to the Power App, but the actual data is starting from here. So that's why we use dot value. Always remember this, right? Okay, So we got the response, and as you can see here, now what we're going to do, we're going to go to our gallery control. Here item is saying travel request. Instead of that, what I'm going to say, obj gallery data. Okay, once you do it, your gallery control will fail, of course. But what you need to do here now, if I go to this item dot title, it is saying that this doesn't exist. You only need to add dot value dot title, and you will start seeing the results. Okay, similarly, if we go to the region request, the only thing I need to add this item dot value dot region for travel. So remember, in your gallery, if you have this item dot your column name, if you are using this method, just add the value before it. So this item dot value dot your column name. Okay, we're going to repeat this for all of the column. Okay, perfect. So our app is working. It's getting the data from the SharePoint list, but it only going to show 10 record because that's what we are asking our flow to give us. So now what we're going to do, we're going to make some space for the pagination. Okay, and we're going to insert two buttons here, one for previous and one for next. This is my next button, this is my previous button, right? So on the next button, what we want our Power Automate flow to send the next set of results, that is next 10 results, right? So what we need to pass, first we need to pass the page size, that is 10. The second one, we need to pass the ID that we need to use, right? That's more important, this one, ID is greater than. So somehow we need to find out in here what is the maximum ID on this page, because ID is sequential, and we're going to pass that ID to the flow. Okay, so on button on select, we're going to say set obj response parse JSON is going to remain the same, no change here. We are calling our flow. The first parameter is our page size, that is also we're not going to change because we have it. The second parameter, the starting ID, that's going to change, and how we're going to get it. So what we're going to do, we're going to write a small logic here. We're going to say if is empty gallery data dot all items. Okay, so what we are checking, this is the gallery data is the name of my gallery. Okay, as you can see here. So we are checking that if gallery does have any record, because if it doesn't have any record, this is going to be 0, because then you are on the page where nothing is showing up. So if there is no item on the gallery, that my starting index or starting item should be 0. If not, then we need to get the last item on this gallery, okay, and get the ID of that. So last, okay, so last item of this gallery control dot value dot ID. Okay, close this dot response, because that's what we need, and close it. Okay, and once we have that response, then we're gonna just go to our app, and this last point, this is not going to change. We're going to clear the collection that we have and assign the latest response that we got from the Power Automate flow. That's it. We're going to save it and run it. Okay, now if I click on the next button, look at this, it's bringing me next record. When I click next, it's going to get me the next set of results. Okay, so we're done with the next item. Now we're going to see how we can go to the previous page. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this logic that we have used for next and go to the previous button on select. I'm going to paste, because most of it is going to remain the same. For example, we're going to still set the response object. We're still going to call the flow, okay, and we're going to check if the gallery is empty. If it's empty, that means we need to get the first item. If it is not, then on next we were trying to get the last item ID. For the previous, we should be getting the ID of the last item of the previous page. Okay, so how are we going to get it? So here what we're going to do, instead of last, we're going to do first. Okay, so what we are doing, trying to get the first item of this gallery, the page where we are. Okay, and then I'm going to do minus variable page size. Okay, so if you look at this page, let's say we are on this page and we want to go to the previous. Based on our logic here, It's going to do first of gallery item, so we will get the 31, that's the ID of the first item. Then we are doing minus the page size, our page size is 10, so this will give me 21, right? So based on the logic and the page size that we have, the previous page should start from 21. So in the flow, everything that is greater than 20 should be coming back. Okay, so here this is going to give me 21. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this and put into the bracket and do -1. So now if you look at this entire thing, giving me 20, and that's what we want, because when I'm going to press previous, the index will go as a 20, and in our logic that we have is going to be greater than 20, so we will get the previous page. Fair enough. Next is going to remain the same. Let's run it. Okay, I'm going to press previous. Perfect, right? So now I can keep going back and it's going to bring me the previous page as I. Perfect. So the navigation is working. Now let's do some more logic on previous and next button. Like for example, if I am on the first page, the previous button should be disabled, and when I'm on the last page, the next button should be disabled. So I'm going to do the previous button, and if you go to the display mode for this button, okay, so currently this is an edit. What we're going to do, we're going to keep it edit if we are not on the first page, and we're going to make it disable if we are on the first page, as currently we are. Okay, so what we're going to do, the logic, if the first item of this gallery dot value dot id equals to 1, then display mode disabled, else keep it added. Simple. Perfect. So now if I play, currently it's disabled because we are on the first page. If I go next, my previous button is enabled. This part is done. Now let's work on the next button. So to make the next button disabled, we need to know the total number of items that we have in our list. Currently we don't know that, right? Currently the only information that we have here is the 10 records that we are getting back from our Power Automate flow. So what we need to do, we need to also make some changes to our Power Automate flow to get the total number of items in a list, and then use that number to disable this. So I'm going back to my Power Automate. Here what we're going to do, we're going to add another action. This is just to get the total number of items in a list. Okay, SharePoint, and this time we're going to use send an HTTP request to SharePoint, because what we are trying to do, we are trying to get the total number of items. I'm going to select my site address, okay, and in the URI, this is what we're going to use. So I'm going to save it, and I will show you, I'll run this flow manually, and then I will show you what response we're going to get. Okay, so we're going to test this just to see this particular API call. So if you look at this one, this is the result that we got. So we have the D, and if you scroll down, item count. Okay, so this item count is the total number of items. So what we're going to do, we're going to pass this information also back to the Power App. So I'm going to go to response and add another response variable, total items. And here what we're going to use, so go to the expression, and then we're going to say body, action name, get underscore count, question mark, single quote D, question mark. Okay, so body get count, this is the action name, replace it with whatever action name that you have in your flow. D item count, click OK, save. Okay, so flow change has been done. Now go back to your Power App, go to the flow, and make sure you refresh it so that the latest flow change are reflected in here. And then we're going to go to app on start, because what we want to do, when the first time app load, we want to get the total number of items, and we will keep it or save it in a variable. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a variable total item, and instead of response, because response is all item, we're going to use the total item, this one, right, we just created. And if I do run on start to see if I'm getting any value here or not. Okay, so this variable should have some value now. Yes, so now we go to the next button, disable it, go to the display mode, and here what we're going to do, we're going to type another if statement. So if last, because now we are trying to see whether we are at the last of the item or not. So gallery data dot all items dot value dot id equals to total item, display mode disable, else keep it, edit. Okay, now you may get this because it's not a text, id is a text, so we're gonna just convert this to the text. Okay, so id column is text, we are just converting this total item to the text. So we have our display mode. Now let's try to see if we are reaching to the last item or not. And how I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna change this to 500. So we're gonna just run it for 500 item. Okay, so we got all the 500 item here. I'm gonna run it. Next should give me the next set of 500. One more, and you see it's disabled and we are at the last item, 1001. Coming back to app, I'm going to change it to 10. So we have done so far previous, next, everything is working fine. But one thing that I also have in my app is these numbering, right? So how are we going to get this numbering? So let's do that as well. So I'll go here and we're going to insert a horizontal gallery because we want the numbering, right? Okay, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete anything that I don't want. Okay, let's see the error here. We don't need any of these logic. I'm just keeping one single label inside this library because that's what we need for numbering. And then we're going to move this library that we have created to the bottom. Okay, now the item for this library, what we need to show the numbers starting from 1. So we're going to just do a quick logic here, and that logic is going to be sequence. So here what I'm going to say, the total item, that's the total number of items in the gallery that we already got, divided by the page size. Let's say we have page size of 10, the total item divided by 10 plus 1 and 1. Okay, so what this is going to do, as you can see here, this is going to give me the number starting. This is the starting where we're going to start with 1 and we're going to divide by the page size. Okay, and here I'm going to do the edit this item dot value. Okay, and because it's already overwriting, so I'm going to move this gallery here, make it bigger because we need to reduce the template size so that it can look better, right? And currently it's showing only 3 pages. You know why? Because if I go to the app, I made this 500 and I never run it again. So I'm going to run on start, and here you go. You can see all the numbers are popping in here, right? Now the next thing, if you don't want this horizontal scroller, what you can do show navigation and also scrolling. So now you can have a navigation here. Okay, let's run it, and you can see all the numbers that we have are listed here. Now let's do the logic on what should happen when you click on any of these individual numbers, right? So on select of any of the item in this gallery, right, what we're going to do, we're going to do a logic. We are going to do the same thing. We are setting up our object response that we used. We are going to make a call to our Power Automate flow. Okay, the first one, we're going to pass our page size. The next one is we're going to pass the starting index. And how we're going to calculate this, we're going to say this item dot value. So if I'm clicking on 2, it's going to give me 2, and then I'm going to do -1. So this will give me 1 into variable page size. So if I'm on 3, it's going to be 3 minus 1, 2. It's going to give me 20. Okay, and then we're going to close it. Dot response, done, and we're going to assign this to our collection. That's it. We're going to save it, run. Now I'm going to click on the second item. It's bringing me second. Let me click on the 6th one, 11th one. It's going to keep moving, right? Perfect, right? So everything is working. The pagination is perfectly working as expected. Okay, yeah. So this is all for this video. I hope this will help you. So you can also create this kind of navigation in any of your existing app, or you can create a new app. Thank you for watching, and thank you for subscribing to my channel.